Hello and welcome to the DisruptAbility podcast. Today we're talking to Debra Ruh from Ruh Global, and she is also one of the founders of #AccessChat, which is on every Tuesday on Twitter. Debra is a leader in disability business inclusion, and she has been a huge support to the Valuable 500 and to Inclusive Cork. It is my honour to talk to Debra Ruh today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and thank you for listening. Welcome to the DisruptAbility podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled today to have Debra Ruh from Ruh Global. Now, this woman has been one of my influencers, and she has really inspired me and she has really supported me since I've started Inclusive Cork. So I am thrilled to have this conversation with her today. So welcome, Debra.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. And I love the name of the podcast. It's a very, very clever name. So good for you.
Thank you very much. And let's disrupt and get things going in the right direction for disability, because I know there's a lot of talent out there, as I know you do.
Yes, there is. There is. And, you know, the really good thing about the work that we all do is the more inclusive we make anything, including a city, it works better for all people, all of your citizens, all of the tourists, everybody that comes. So it makes it more inclusive for everyone. And that's what I love about the work we do. It's a win for everybody. But at the same time, people with disabilities get included when they are often thought of afterwards. They're the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth thought.
Yeah, I agree. Can we start, because some of our listeners may not know you, Debra, so can you tell us a little bit about your own personal experience of disability?
Yes, I am 60 years old. I decided to go with a little purple for my 60th birthday. But I have a daughter that I have two grown children, and my oldest is, her name is Sarah, and she was born with Down syndrome. And I remember when she was born, I looked at her and this little thought came through my head saying, she looks like she has Down syndrome. And I thought, what? I've never met anybody with Down syndrome. And that wound up being actually true. 4 months later, they diagnosed her. It was unusual. That usually, a child with Down syndrome is diagnosed much earlier, but they diagnosed her when she was 4 months old. And I still did not think I knew anyone with a disability. I didn't know anything about this industry. Turns out there were a lot of people that had disabilities. I just did not know it because a lot of people hide their disabilities because society is not very accepting of the disability. Mm-hmm. And so I was in the banking industry and I loved the work I did, but whenever my daughter, we were in Florida at the time, we moved to Virginia, where I'm taking the call from. Mm-hmm. Lovely day in Virginia as Hurricane Dorian is coming up our coast, and we're fingers crossed, everything put up so that if the trees start falling, which happened last time. A hurricane came, it downgraded tropical storm and still the winds knocked down trees, knocked out electricity and water for 3 weeks. Wow. So electricity is such a blessing. So anyway, but whenever my daughter reached middle school, and once again, I started hearing what she couldn't do, what she couldn't achieve, what I thought, well, I don't understand. What is the problem with employing people with disabilities? Why is this so hard? So I stopped the work I was doing at the bank and I created a company, a technology company that employed technologists with disabilities. It was called Tech Access. Mm-hmm. And what we did was we were working to make sure we were really focused on digital inclusion, making sure websites were accessible. At the time, there weren't apps. There are apps now. There wasn't social media even then in 2001. But I found just these talented people with disabilities. And, you know, we had a lot of successes, a lot of failures. It's very hard to be an entrepreneur. As you know, Claire, it's hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in 2011, I merged that with another company and then started in 2013 with Ruh Global Impact. And what we do, we're strategists. We work with corporations, with UN agencies, with governments, with educational systems, helping assure that people with disabilities are fully included in every aspect of that word. But there's so many moving parts, as we know, Claire. Mm-hmm. So we're also very active out on social media. My daughter is only minimally involved. She, you know, I set this company up so that she would have a place to work, and she didn't want to be a technologist. She wants to be an artist.
Mhm.
So isn't that typical? So
Yeah.
so that's how we got here. I've been blessed to get to work on so many interesting projects with so many wonderful people. And, I think this community is so important. And as I've walked this path, unfortunately, my husband has acquired a very significant disability. He, a couple of years ago, was diagnosed with early onset dementia,
Mhm.
which is a scary diagnosis. He had a traumatic brain injury when he was a child. And unfortunately, when our heads take a hit like that, our
Mhm.
brains are going to, they're going to age differently.
Mhm.
And we're seeing that in the United States with our football players, where we keep giving them concussions as we joyfully watch the game. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're seeing it with the soccer too. We're seeing it with the athletes that do the headers. I think that's what it's called when they
Yeah.
hit the football with their head. But we're not seeing it as brutally as we're seeing in the United States with our football, but we are seeing it all over with these sports. And so I think what we're going to learn from this particular part of our society that's aging, we're going to learn a lot about our brains. Just like a generation ago, we learned a lot about hearts because so many men were dying of heart attacks. And I know people still are, but um, it seems the diagnosis of this generation is dementia and Alzheimer's. So,
It
and
is.
that's,
It's a
yeah,
really interesting space, and the whole aging discussion and disability is growing as well. And I
yes.
know you mentioned that I have two of your books, Debra, on my Kindle, and maybe you might talk them through us: inclusion branding, and also tapping into
Human
human
hidden capital. I
talent.
know
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
mouthful.
yeah.
I've actually written 3 books,
Oh,
and but one of them, my very first one, I've got them behind me too. The first one was using social media to find your voice, and the reason why I wanted to write that one was because at the time, I wrote it in 2013, I found a lot of people my age were not using social media. And so I really wanted to encourage older people to use social media to, connect, find their voice, find their purpose, engage. And of course, everybody's found their way to social media in one way or the other since then. And that book is so old that I've actually taken it out of circulation,
mm-hmm.
only because 2013, that's ages ago for social media. So much has
Yeah,
changed.
yeah.
And so, but every time I write a book, I do talk about disability inclusion and inclusive design and all that. So the second one, that tapping into hidden human capital, I explored what 31 corporations were doing all over the world to include people with disabilities in their employment, in their workforce. And I gave a lot of the information, explained how if your workforce is not inclusive, if your workplace is not inclusive, if you're not thinking about this from future of work and all the different things that's going on, you're going to leave talented people out of your workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all about employing people with disabilities and showing that this was something that was happening all over the world, because sometimes in the States, we think that we got, it's very typical people to be heads down, just focused on where they are. And I wanted to make sure that the corporations and the leaders and the community in the United States understood there was a lot of innovation happening, and it's actually happening, quite a bit of innovations happening outside the United States. So even though we were the first with our Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990,
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of innovation that we've seen in other parts of the world that we really need to turn and look at and see what is happening and what we can contribute to and what we can learn from, which was the goal of that book.
Okay. And
And
that
then,
book brought in about aging and everything, and it's really good.
yes, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last book, Inclusion Branding, was really the book I wanted to write. It was, it really is good for a business, for a community, for a country, for a location, to include people, all of us, to include everyone. And, as we've said, when you make something inclusive or accessible, it's going to improve the experience for everyone. And so you look at a family like mine. Am I such an odd family? I have 4 family members, my husband, myself, my daughter, my son, but we travel together. And so now we have two family members with, what would be considered significant disabilities, but we have money to spend. We want to travel to beautiful places like Cork, Ireland. So
Yeah.
we need somebody to be paying attention to that, to make sure that when we come, we can participate in everything just like any other tourist would want to.
Well,
And
Debra, that is my goal. When you come to Cork with your family, you will be included, because I am doing trainings in hotels and restaurants, and they're getting it and they want to do it. And business is definitely getting behind inclusion. They want to do something for the population, but also for the tourism. Yeah,
I agree. And Claire, it's something that I've been preaching that for a long time, but many areas weren't doing it. So now I am starting to see more activities like what you're doing in Cork.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so important, because you do want the tourist dollars. If that's tourism dollars, makes a big impact on a community. And so I just think it's such a logical way to do it. And they know that the people coming, or, if they're not coming, at least part of the reason might be because they don't believe that they're going to be able to participate. They don't believe they're going to be included. So it's one of the best things a community can do, is focus on inclusive design and the things that you're doing with the restaurants and the hotels and, in conference centers, and hopefully all of the businesses. Any place that you have a person-to-person impact, a person-to-person touch, they should be talking to someone like you to make sure that that is going to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And it benefits all of society, and it's no longer acceptable not to do it. So I really appreciate your work.
Yeah. No, I'm really enjoying it. And you know what? I think the whole country of Ireland has a level of anxiety now around Brexit, and British tourists would have been some of the majority of tourists that come to this country. So we have to start looking at other markets anyway, and the accessible market, come to Ireland. Come to Cork.
I agree. Yeah. And in the United States, we have the numbers keep shifting because some of us are dying, but 70 to 72 million Americans are over the age of 55 now. Every day for the next few years, 10,000 Americans every single day will turn 65. But don't put us to bed yet, because the reality is we still control 60% of the wealth, and Americans love to travel, and Americans love Ireland. We always have. Y'all know this. A lot of Irish people came to America during the potato famine. Yeah. So a lot of us feel very connected. I know that when I did a little thing to check my heritage, I'm 35% Irish, and my husband has Irish blood, and we take a lot of pride in that. And there's a lot of Americans that love Ireland. We just love Ireland. We think it's so charming. We love your accents. We love the Greek. But I hope that people are listening in Ireland, because you've got to make sure it is inclusive, so we can come over and spend our dollars with you. So
I agree 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I hope that when people come in on the cruise ships now are big business in Cork, and I want everyone who comes in on a cruise ship to get off the ship and come into our city, and see what it's about. Yeah.
And the cruise lines, they're so smart, because they've gotten this before everybody else. Mm-hmm. They understood, just like the Disneys and the Merlin Entertainments and the theme parks, they also got it, because they were finding multi-generations were coming in. And, some of the generations were, some of the older generations weren't speaking the same languages. And there was, some were carrying oxygen. Oxygen's portable now. Some were in wheelchairs. Some have canes. And so the cruise operators have figured this out, and they've gotten really good. And they have a lot of reasons and a lot of fun things you can do just staying on board. Don't stay on board. Get out of that ship and come and visit the lovely Cork, Ireland, with all of your amazing history and your lovely people and the guineas and everything else that makes you uniquely Irish. Mm-hmm. And so I think, that's why, once again, the work you're doing is so critical. And I hope you're working with some of the cruise ships to let them know of the efforts that you're making to encourage them to encourage their passengers to get off and quite frankly, spend money in Cork, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I must look into that one. Debra, you're a leader in disability business inclusion, along with another woman who I really admire, an Irish woman, Caroline Casey. And can you tell us a little bit about how is Valuable 500 going? Because I'm following that as well.
Yes, and I'm with you. I love Dr. Caroline Casey. I think Ireland has produced some amazing people like you and Antonio Santos, who is my partner on Access Chat. And I'm just quite fond of Ireland. And I love Caroline. I love her. I love her spirit. I love her attitude. I love her energy. She's really, really something amazing.
Yeah.
And I have taken a leadership position with her in the United States to make sure the American corporations are joining the Valuable 500. And unfortunately, that is not happening. We are seeing the way that we do things in the United States is often messy. And we create a law and then we sue each other to pound the law out and figure it out. It's just the way we do things. We're just that way. But it has caused a divide. And even though the United States have probably done more with accessibility than any other country because of the way we're suing each other, and there's a lot of things happening. The problem with too much litigation and fear is that people don't innovate. And so we see many corporations in the US only checking the box and just doing the bare minimum because I think all of this has confused them. They're not bad corporations. But I think that there is some innovation happening, but once again, I'm seeing a lot of the innovation start happening outside the US because fear is not good. Like you said, with the Brexit, people are afraid. They don't know what to expect. And when we're afraid, we sort of hunker down and we get, we sort of stay to where we are and we'll just travel later. And so so the Valuable 500 is thriving and it's doing really well in the UK and Europe. And I know Israel is doing things, and I'm involving some corporations from China and India. There's a lot happening, but unfortunately it's very slow coming from the United States. We have had corporations show leadership in the United States. We have, I want to say Accenture, but Accenture actually belongs to y'all now. So Accenture is an Irish company.
Okay.
Used to be a U.S. company, but so we can't take credit for them. But we have Ernst & Young, we have Boeing, we have Microsoft, and there's many others, but it's still very quiet on the U.S. front. But what we did, Claire, Caroline came over. Her travel schedule is ridiculous. I don't know how she's doing it. She is working so hard for our community, but she came over to the United States and we met with a lot of our disability leaders, our National Federation of the Blind, our AAPD, the American Association of the Blind. We met with our community leaders that are supporting people that are deaf and hard of hearing, independent living. It was a very interesting group, and we pulled them together, and Caroline told them what was happening and what she was trying to do, and they vowed to get behind her. So I think what you're going to see happening in the United States is, as the disability leaders say, I am supporting what Caroline Casey is doing. More of the corporations will join. They're sort of afraid. And once again, fear causes us to to sort of try to protect ourselves instead of being innovative. So.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it can be, it stops us from moving forward. But I think solidarity among people with disabilities, as you call us, our community, we need to work together and not fight against each other. It's like, we've got a great leader in Caroline and a huge opportunity for organizations. And a lot of organizations are already doing the work. So I'm like, why not get behind it? You're well placed to be in the Valuable 500 and beyond the world stage at Davos in 2020 to say you got behind this and it's the right thing to do.
I know it's because I really believe that more has been done in the United States than any other country. Now, why? Some of it is because we're going to sue you. But then we have one of our corporations, Domino's Pizza, that is actually going to our Supreme Court and asking them to change the laws because they don't want to make their website accessible And the lawsuit that was filed was from a person that was blind, that when they went to order a pizza, they couldn't change the toppings on their pizza. Okay, so I guess because you're blind, you get to have whatever pizza just happened to be on the screen, which is probably a cheese pizza, no toppings for you. That doesn't even make sense. Plus, how many people are they losing? Because many people, especially our young people, they care about inclusion. And so for a corporate brand to come out and say, oh, this is too much trouble. And by the way, Supreme Court, you go and change all the laws so we don't have to deal with all these frivolous lawsuits. These aren't frivolous. These are people that want to buy your products and buy your solutions. And why would you leave out a percentage, 15 to 20% of the population, and also people that care about all of us being included? I don't want to, and I'll give you another example, LGBT. There was a company in the United States, and I won't mention their name only because they really turned it around, but they had made the CEO of the company had made some derogatory comments about people that were homosexual. And this was a fast food franchise, and why they're talking about that, I don't know. It was ridiculous, but people started picketing them and they just stopped going to this organization. And so they really turned it around and they apologized and things like that. But it's interesting to me when a brand doesn't stay in its lane. If you're selling pizza, sell pizza. Don't get involved in our political discussions.
Yeah.
Sell pizza. Don't say people with disabilities don't deserve the right to buy your pizza by going to Supreme Court and asking them to do away with our laws. It's ridiculous. It's not that hard to be innovative and inclusive. Do it in a way, because we are going to thrive from your efforts.
Absolutely. And Debra, it's not that hard to make your website accessible. Right.
Not.
So, I'm vision impaired. So like I need to be able to order my pizza or my, food.
Hope you like cheese pizza. Yeah.
Debra,
you don't get choices. You're not going to get a choice.
Oh, no. Oh dear, oh dear. We're going to run out of time, and I just want to pick your brain a little bit further. On Saturday, I am going into a group of people who are vision impaired and blind, okay? And they are people ranging from what we call secondary school, but what you call high school, up to mid-20s, okay? And they are looking for, I suppose, opportunities in the work and employment area. Can you tell me, where do you think opportunities are for people with vision impairment and
technology? AI. Told them, if they're interested in technology at all, tell them to go into technology, because artificial intelligence, a lot of people are afraid they're going to overtake us and kill us all, like the sci-fi shows say, or they're going to take all of our jobs. That's ridiculous. Artificial intelligence should continue to enhance our futures, but at the same time, will it be misused? Has it already been misused? Yes. It's like fire. Fire is such a beautiful thing until somebody misuses it, right? How can it go wrong? Yeah, we know this. So I always am steering people to these new technologies. If you care about our planet, focus on going to climate action jobs. We are going to need more and more people in the arts, especially the arts that tie into the technology. So if you're an artist, my son's an artist, for example, so I would never have sent him to, biology or something like that, because he's more interested in arts, and he is applying it through, movies and documentaries and things like that. So first of all, I would always suggest follow the things that makes your heart beat a little faster, that you're passionate about, to try to find your path. But at the same time, I think the technologies that are happening, the artificial intelligence, the prosthesis, the Internet of Things, the robotics, all the self-driverless cars, all the autonomous vehicles and stuff, they're going to provide a lot of opportunities. If you think back 15 years ago, there was no such thing as a social media manager, for example. So some of the old jobs will be taken by the artificial intelligence, the machine learning tools and stuff, but the creative, interesting jobs like social media and artificial intelligence and taking care of this thing, there's so many directions they can go, but I would definitely point them to technology, because you can't be alive these days and not be engaged with technology. It's just, the society has made it in a way that it's almost impossible not to. So their best bet, I think is the newer technologies. And I would also say tech for good, technology for good, that is going to improve society.
Okay. I think our time is nearly up here with Zoom. I'm hearing a big trumpet sound like Ryanair. But recently you did a really good Access Chat interview with Sherry Byrne from VMware, and she talked about people with disabilities being the super users. So that was really good advice, what you just said around AI, and with her talking about us being super users of technology. So companies need us as well.
I agree. And I would say that was my texting. So I turned my phone off. So that wasn't from Zoom, just to let you know.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Apologies. I did turn the volume off just then. But yeah, Sherry has such an interesting voice. And I like that Sherry said what she's doing is she's trying to help these companies be more accessible. She's also talking about it. She's blogging about it. And she's getting on shows. And I think we have to do that. That's why I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast, because tell us what you're doing so we can support you and we can send you resources and, help you be successful. And so that others will say, wow, that's a great idea. I wonder if I could do what Claire is doing in Cork in my city, in Bangladesh, or wherever in South America, in Latin America. So I think talking about our work has never been more important than it is right now. And Claire, you need to come on Access Chat and talk about what you're doing in Cork. We would love to have you come on and talk about that.
I would be honored. I would be thrilled. And I am so happy to collaborate with anyone on an international basis, because what I want to do in Cork is follow best international practice, but implement it at a local level. And when we get it right in Cork, I would be happy to share that template with the world, because that's where we're going. It's global,
And we're part of a community.
Yes.
Because we talked about this before we went on air, but we have responsibilities as leaders that are part of this community, that care about this community, to not try to step in each other's way and hurt each other or have these little camps, but instead share what we're learning. What we're learning, empower others, brag about other people and what they're doing, because it's good for our community. And the little boy that just, his parents just found out that he has a major vision impairment. He's counting on us to do this, Claire. Yeah. The little girls, that they're counting on us to truly lead and be inclusive leaders. They're just counting on us doing that. And so there's a lot of fussing and fighting, and I'm hoping that people will move beyond that and help each other, because together we are definitely stronger.
Oh, absolutely. And Debra, thank you so much for saying that, because I think that legacy is very important for me as now an older person, 51-year-old with a disability. I probably wish I had some of those accessible role models when I was younger, people who said, this is the way I navigated it, this is how I got through it, and there's good days and bad days. But I hope that what I'm doing now in Cork is going to help younger people navigate their world with a disability in a more positive way, in a more positive way. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your wisdom with us today, Debra Ruh. I really appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing, because you really are a leader in the disability business inclusion world, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Claire. And I look forward to watching what you're doing and coming over. I was supposed to come over to Cork last year, and my daughter got sick, but she's better now. So now we're going to make it happen. But I appreciate what you're doing, Claire. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please be advised that this recording does not constitute medical or legal advice.